And now for the good news. Many good things got buried in last night's election coverage of the big races. Marriage equality is now legal in 33 states after a judge ruled yesterday that Missouri's ban on same-sex marriage was unconstitutional, allowing same-sex couples to receive marriage licenses immediately. A district judge also ruled yesterday that Kansas's ban was unconstitutional, but that ruling has been stayed for another week. Alaska, Oregon, and the District of Columbia last night joined Colorado and Washington State and legalized marijuana for recreational use. In California, voters said yes to Proposition 47, which turns low-level felonies like drug possession, shoplifting, and forgery to misdemeanors. Supporters of that measure say that it will save the state hundreds of millions of dollars and reduce unnecessary overcrowding in prisons. Voters in Washington state passed a measure expanding gun background checks in private sales and transfers and rejected a separate measure that would have prevented the state from expanding background checks beyond federal law. And the Republican states of South Dakota, Alaska, Arkansas, and Nebraska all approved measures that increase the minimum wage above the federal minimum of $7.25 an hour. Illinois voters also passed a non-binding minimum wage measure that needs to be approved by the state legislature in order to become law. President Obama said today that he hopes these minimum wage increases are a sign that it can be done at the federal level.
In the 5 states where a minimum wage increase was on the ballot last night, voters went 5 for 5 to increase it. And that'll give about 325,000 Americans a raise in states where Republican candidates prevailed. So that should give us new reason to get it done for everybody with a national increase in the minimum wage.
Joining me now, former Labor Secretary Robert Reich, author of Aftershock, The Next Economy and America's Future, and Seattle Mayor Ed Murray, who earlier this year signed into law raising Seattle's minimum wage to $15 an hour. Mayor Murray, some people around the country hear that and they think, how can Seattle possibly bear $15 an hour? Won't that send jobs running out of town?
I think it's the opposite. We can't afford not to. This is a city that is attracting a lot of creative people. It's the fastest growing city in America, but it's becoming an unaffordable city. If we don't pay people a decent wage, we will not be able to stimulate the economy and continue to grow the way we need to grow. You pay people a decent wage, they're actually going to go out and buy things, and that's going to create more jobs.
You now are tied for highest minimum wage, Mayor Murray, because San Francisco last night voted to increase the minimum wage, actually to match that $15 level. So the trend you started is moving south now.
Well, and that's the hope. You know, it's not just something we want to have happen in Seattle. This is hopefully cities once again showing the way to other levels of government about how you can get things done.
Robert Reich, a fascinating political phenomenon last night. We saw the party that generally opposes increases in the minimum wage, Republicans, win Senate seats in states where the same voters voted to increase the minimum wage. Arkansas, really striking. 66% of Arkansas voters voted to raise the minimum wage. That's 10% more than voted for that Republican Senate candidate.
You find similar numbers, Lawrence, in South Dakota, Nebraska, and also even in Alaska. You have an extraordinary wave of people in very conservative states. These are the reddest of red states. These states did not even go for President Obama in 2012. They have elected Republicans over and over again, but 60 to 70% of their voters say yes to a minimum wage increase that the right wing says is going to kill jobs. Now, what does that tell you? What it tells you is that this issue of jobs and wages and the economy is central to Republican voters, as it is, obviously, to voters all over the country. And Democrats need to start talking more about jobs and wages and making the middle class and the poor really participants in this economy.
Robert Reich, Mitch McConnell himself used to vote for increases in the minimum wage in the Senate. What is now a long time ago for him. But what do you think, President Obama's point, what do you think of that point of being able to transfer some of this minimum wage energy that's out there in the states into federal legislation?
Well, I think it's absolutely right. If you can get 4 of the most conservative states in the country to vote for an increase in the minimum wage, it's one thing if, with all due respect to Mayor Murray in Seattle and San Francisco, it's one thing if Seattle and San Francisco go for a higher minimum wage, but when you get Alaska and Arkansas and South Dakota and Nebraska going for a higher minimum wage, you know that something is going on in this country. And I think the president is absolutely right. He ought to point the finger at Republicans in the Senate and in the House that are not going to support an increase in the minimum wage.
Mayor Murray, it seems that this argument doesn't change. The dynamics of it don't change. Do you have? Are you hoping that you're going to be able to bring empirical evidence to this down the road, where you get to say, look, we raised the minimum wage to $15. Here's what happened to our economy, to the neighboring economies. Here's what happened to unemployment. Here's what happened to job migration. Will those kinds of studies be available for what's happening in Seattle?
So I think they're available now. It's the last 34 years of a failed economic model, a model that is destroying the middle class, a model that is making it hard for people to send their kids to get a higher education, and thus those kids are not getting the jobs that we need folks to get in our city to have those creative skills. So I actually think the evidence is there. This is a city that is a very innovative job market, but we're having real challenges graduating the kids from our schools to get those jobs. And it goes right back to that issue of economic equity. And we've got to start someplace, in cities, I think, once again in this country are showing other level of governments how you can actually create a more equitable society.
Robert Reich, given what you've heard from Mitch McConnell and what we now know to be the composition of the Senate, if you were in President Obama's cabinet after having been in President Clinton's cabinet, what would you be advising the president today in terms of where to look for possible areas of agreement?
Well, I'd say to him to beware of possible areas of agreement. I mean, that Keystone XL pipeline, that's one of the first things the Republicans are going to want to push. They're going to want to push, that Social Security COLA change that the president flirted with. They're going to want to push some tax reform under the aegis of the label tax reform that's really not going to be tax reform at all. I tell the president, just beware. Don't be seduced by this necessity of compromise. Stick to your guns. The Democrats learn something, I hope, about the minimum wage increases in these states and around the country, that the Democrats have a very powerful message if they're willing to use it, and that is most Americans right now don't feel that they're in a recovery. They feel that most of the gains from the economy have gone to the very top, and they are right. And if the Democratic Party means anything at all, it means bolstering the positions, the economic position of the average American against this tidal wave of big corporate and Wall Street and billionaire money in politics and an economy that's not working for everybody.
Well, at his press conference today, the president certainly sounded like he was sticking to his guns, as you would advise, Robert Reich, but still interested in where they might be able to find areas of agreement. Robert Reich and Mayor Ed Murray, thank you both very much for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Lawrence.